We have Brian on.
Ear in your ear.
Yeah, I think everybody's on, it needs to be.
Stick it in the ear, it doesn't like.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everybody here today. We'll start with pledge of allegiance, please, if you can stand if you want. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just so everybody knows, Jeff Newhart is on the phone here. He's on Zoom. Yeah, he's on Zoom too, but he can't get the audio through, so we're using the phone, my phone.
Has the sheet been passed around?
You mean on a Zoom, you mean? Yeah. No, not at all.
Okay, just to cover procedurally today, being we have Mr. Newhart, Commissioner, on Zoom or on the phone, any kind of motion will have to be by, roll call. Okay? Do we have any additions to the agenda? Any conflicts today?
Do you wanna add that maybe?
Just during the motion to acknowledge and accept State's Attorney Austin's recusal in any matter involving Summit Carbon Solutions, we'd like that in writing, as well as our motion, writing from Austin that he recuses himself.
So what do you suggest, Mike, that after we make the motion that we request in writing
Yeah.
after today's
In
motion?
addition, yeah.
Okay, I will add that. Am I okay by just saying in writing, Mike?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And, by this ASAP or by next meeting, or,
I would say ASAP.
okay, any other additions? Okay, then I will ask for a motion to accept the agenda for today. So moved by Neil, second by Mike. Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, I kinda can. What's the motion now?
Basically, I'm just asking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
And, I have a motion, I have a second, I have to do everything by roll call vote. Are you a? A, Mike?
A.
Sid? Aye. Neil? Aye. Motion carried to approve the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to, motion to acknowledge and accept State's Attorney Austin Hoffman's recusal. Okay. I didn't know if that was a misprint or refusal or, okay. Recurrals of, the matter involving Summit Carbon pipeline, and also with that motion, we would, want to document in writing soon to follow. Any other discussion on this motion? If not, I ask for,
I will make that motion.
we have a motion from Sid, we have a second by Mike. Okay. Second by Jeff? Okay, second by Jeff. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, Jeff?
Yes.
Aye. Mike?
Aye.
Sid? Neil? Mark? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, we will move on to Zoom meeting with Mr. Brian Jordy. We have him on, Sid?
Yeah, Ryan, are you on?
Brian say something?
Testing, 1, 2. Test.
Yeah, yeah, we got you. Oh, it's like Jeff too. Joys of technology in the down. Okay, so Brian, we just kinda wanted, want your opinion on this whole matter with, interrogatories and, we need representation in place of Austin. I guess what are your feelings, what's your take on all of it? I think we've talked enough to where I think you've, kinda know what's going on with it. Hey, hang on a second, we're having trouble with the audio here.
Battery is the connected to Lindsay's iPhone too.
Okay, now let's try it again. Yeah, I actually have got you on mine. That's the only thing we're hearing you on is my phone connected through Jeff.
Yeah, I guess if you told me on your phone.
We got you now. We've got you now. Yep. Okay, now I'll give her head.
Alright, that's all good. Technology's great when it works, right? So, can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just, first of all, yes, I mean, I talked to Sid for about 60 seconds about, that you all might need some help. I think these are important questions to respond to appropriately. I'm not gonna, give you legal advice on what the answer should be at this point, because I'm not, retained, but I can tell you that there's a lot of these questions that are objectionable, shouldn't be answered, in my opinion, and whoever you work with, you're gonna wanna make sure they, understand the subject matter, at least generally, because I don't have to tell you all, there's a lot of layers to this over the last few years, that are kind of coming to a head here, but also understand really the tools you can use. So just because someone sends you a question doesn't mean that they deserve an answer. The vast majority of these are objectionable, in my view. A couple are legitimate, and you just want to work with someone that understands that. Whether, and I don't know what the makeup is of your body here, or who all was a part of getting these passed, but it doesn't matter if you like the ordinance, don't like it, you're in the role you have, and your job is to defend the ordinance, and then respond appropriately within the discovery rules. So that's kind of high level. Whoever you go with, again, just make sure they're understand the tools available and that you don't have to respond to everything simply because someone asks you a question or wants documentation. So I'm happy to go further if you want examples of what I'm saying, but that's kind of my high level thought.
Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm Jeff Newhart. I'm probably the one that is kind of put on the spot here the most. I'm also the chairman of the zoning board, and so was deeply involved in getting this ordinance together. I am on vacation, and I'll be gone for another 3 weeks. There's no way I could get whatever facts I need to get together back to them. Is there a possibility of getting an extension from the PUC or whoever we need to get an extension on? I'd like to extend it out 30, 45 days if possible.
So the answer to your first question is you can always ask, like anything in life, you can ask. Summit is the one propounding these on you, so they could either say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't, and then you'd have a motion to continue, or to extend your deadline in front of the PUC, and they will tell you, just like a court, you have to seek relief. I'm sure Summit would give you, a certain number of days. 45 days is probably excessive, frankly, and maybe even 30. Unfortunately, because of the arbitrary one-year deadline where the PUC has to have a decision, which is something that should be modified, and we're trying in the legislature, you're on a tight time frame. The 15 business days puts you at, I think, March 5th or 6th for an answer. But long story short, you can ask if some lawyer says no, then you would file a motion with the PUC asking their assistance and explaining why you need more time to digest and respond.
Okay. So the first step would be to get in touch with the Summit lawyers.
Correct, and anyone could do that. I mean, the chairperson could send an email on behalf of, all of you and saying, we need X number of more days. Do you give us that extension? It's common to ask for extensions in, practice.
Okay.
So-
Okay. And excuse me.
No, I was just gonna say, and there's no hearing set on this issue. The way the PUC handled it last time on the Navigator preemption request is that they had that as a separate 2-day hearing after the full evidentiary hearing on the permit was held. So, it's not like someone needs these answers yesterday. This is a process that's gonna play out over the next several months.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So, Brian, I kinda had a line on a Nick Moser from Yankton, sounded, from what I've read on Nick, and I haven't talked to him, and we could probably try to call him here after we're off the call with you, the Zoom with you, but, he just, from what I could see, looked to me like he was, pretty up on the state affairs things, and I guess if it's okay with the rest of the guys here, I would be probably entertained calling him, after the Zoom meeting with you, I guess. Probably don't really need an opinion from you, but, I guess, what do you think of that?
Well, at the end of the day, look, you all have an important job, and this is ordinance that affects everyone in your community, and obviously you gotta take it seriously. It's your job to defend it, whether you like it or not. I don't know Nick really well, but I do know him. I have worked with him, and I don't know anything about him that would make him a bad candidate, certainly. And to be clear, I'm not begging for the work. I'd be happy to help you. I'm fully prepared to help. I do have a few other things I'm working on. I think he'd do a nice job for you, but I don't even know if he's interested, but I'm sure he'd do a nice job for you.
Then the other question I have to, going back to that, me being, this is Sid, being a client of yours in the landowners, in the group of landowners, would that be a absolute conflict of interest with you? And if you would try to represent the county, or be asked to represent the county?
No, it's not a conflict of interest for several reasons. Number one, Sid, you're not adverse to the county ordinance or what it's doing, so we don't have adverse interest. The most common kind of conflict that the state bar wants to prevent is I'm representing client A on this issue and client B over here, but they're actually have completely different interests. Like, how can you do that? You can't zealously represent each if they want different things on the same issue. So there's no direct conflict. There's no likelihood that you and the county will have conflict, and I don't see any problem whatsoever on this. My landowner clients are completely on board with the concept that a county can pass common sense regulations that are desired by its citizens.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, Mr. Jordy, would you be willing to take this on as clients?
I would, and if we did that, I think it's important of what that representation would look like. Frankly, whoever you would hire, it might be wise to do it on a limited scope basis. Like, for instance, the matter at hand is responding to discovery. So maybe you hire myself or Nick or whomever you think makes sense on a limited basis, and then if a next issue arises, then maybe we revisit on that or whatever you're comfortable with. But responding to this discovery, quite frankly, because I'm so familiar, would not take me very long. Ultimately, they're your answers. So a lawyer's job isn't to answer for you and tell you exactly what to say. It's to say, hey, this is what I would think within the law, based on what your duties are, what you do and don't have to respond to, and then you all have to, be comfortable and make the final call, and I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay,
Mr. Drury, this is Chairman Opp. On these discoveries, we want to make this as simple and less stressful as can be. What would your suggestion be as far as the people that are involved in it, fill them out, and do we compile one at the end to send to PUC, or what suggestion would you give us?
Yes, so let's just step back. When you get something like this, the first thought is, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, look at everything they want. And so before you go down that path, you have to get some advice of, well, wait a minute. Are these just curiosities? And I don't care who it's Summit or who the other party might be. Are these just curiosities, things they'd like to know? Or are they entitled by the rules of discovery that govern this type of request? Are they entitled to know these things? And oftentimes lawyers object to 90% of what another party asks because they're just fishing for things that aren't relevant. So I would first, say everyone, take a deep breath, because a lot of what they're looking for, in my opinion, should be objected to, which, by the way, if you ignore a question and don't answer it, then you will have arguably be deemed to have waived your objection. And if the PUC says, no, county, you have to answer, you may not be able to object, and now you really have to divulge things that otherwise were not relevant and you could have, just protected and prevented. So the best practice is have a lawyer that understands those rules and what they're doing, draft a response based on the law. Like, for instance, these 12 should be objected to, and here's my paragraph objection, and this is why I think we should object. These 4, you gals get busy and find the information, because these are actually legitimate questions. But then if you go back and say, okay, we compiled these 50 pages, then you want your lawyer to look at those and say, okay, out of these 50, actually 3 are answering the question, these others do not. Because you don't just want to, pardon my language, but vomit out information. You want to answer the legitimate questions being asked, and no more. It's not your job to open up your minds and hearts and souls and everything and come look at everything we have. This is a targeted request. They're trying to prove that your ordinance is unreasonably restrictive. They have the burden of proof. You don't have to prove why the ordinance came into existence. You don't have to prove what was in your mind or defend yourself of why it got there. It's the law. So you don't need to go in and dig up the emails or the conversations you had. The public conversations are there. They can get certified copies on their own. You don't have to give it to them. Any information that's equally available to them, you do not have to take your time and money to provide it. They can go get it themselves. And at the end of the day, there's a very limited amount of information you should, in my view, put forth, because most of this is trying to tear down your thought process and make the debate over, well, do you even know what you're doing? You don't know anything about this. How could you have been part of this decision making? How did you get to X number of feet? It makes it, no, this is the ordinance. It's right there in black and white, and now it's their job to explain to the PUC why they don't think it makes sense. If this language fell from the sky, fell off the back of the truck, and you voted it in, it doesn't matter. That doesn't make it worse or less legitimate. Or hired Harvard-educated scholars to draft every period, that doesn't make it more legitimate. It is what it is. Does that make sense?
yes, it does. It really does.
Very much sense. Okay, board, I guess at this point in time, is there any discussion on hiring Mr. Georgery as our legal counsel, and at what rate, or do we want to discuss Mr. Nick Mullinger? I guess if Mr. Georgery
I think we should hire Mr. Jordy, and we should also think about maybe putting, Mr. Moser on a retainer type thing. So,
Or on notice?
yeah, that's my opinion.
And Mr. Jordan said on a limited basis, and I think we could, at some point in time, we have to discuss that when we wanna go to Mr. Mosier, but without talking with him, we don't know that either.
Right,
So,
exactly.
for the time being, to answer these questions and different things, I think would be very helpful.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
and,
I think so too.
and if, I will let this up to you, but it all depends on Mr. Jordan's time today. This would actually have to be an executive session if we discuss the interrogatory questions. According to, what I was explained to,
Okay.
correct? If you
Brian,
wanna do it today.
did you catch that?
Oh, well, I might be missing the context, but I mean, yes, you would wanna have a special session before, to discuss what the answers are, but whoever your counsel is could be obviously a part of that, because they're advising you, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, I would just say, if I am you, I would say, Mr. or Mrs. Lawyer, you draft up the best answers that you think we should give. You make a notation where, yeah, this is legitimate, so now give us the homework to find the answers or find the data. So we can just narrow this down and get you all, so you're not just running around wondering what to do. It's just simplify the process.
And Mr. Jordan, is that, when you compile the answers, is that from the people that were involved, or is that something on the legal counsel you would do?
Okay, yes, so that's both. So the initial step, the first if we think of different filters, first filter is, which of all of these should you even waste your time on? Because some of them are just absolute, we object, irrelevant, doesn't seek information that'll be admissible, et cetera, and so forth. I or whoever the lawyer is should do that first. Then we get to the second filter, which is, okay, folks, these are ones we need to do a little homework on, and yeah, this is a legitimate question and only you know the answer. This is how I would suggest the answer look, but you are the holders of the facts, not me. And so that's where we work, collaboratively to get the best answer based on the facts that you know or the documents you have.
Okay. Yeah, as vice chairman and I had discussed, we tried to eliminate another meeting, but that's fine, that makes sense to me also.
Right, and that meeting probably could be with Jeff, couldn't it? Being Jeff was on the zoning board and not to throw you under the bus too hard, Jeff, but, am I right there, Brian?
Well, to the extent, and that's, because these are a little hybrid, and that's the thing, we have to be specific. And so, who is this to? It's to the McPherson County Commission. So, the county commission doesn't have a duty to go out into other organizations and try to find out what they know necessarily. So, you might even be able to argue if it's not directed at zoning, it depends. We'd have to think about that. At the end of the day, you're gonna wanna have the discussions anyway, even if you come up with 100 items and only 10 are ultimately disclosed. So, but it's directed to the county commission. That's who have the answer. So you might send something to me, what's the color of your neighbor's kitchen? Well, yeah, I could go knock on the door and go in there, but isn't a better answer objection? I have no idea. Ask my neighbor what that question is. So that's why you want to be specific. Like, is this your obligation to answer a question? Did they misdirect the question? Should they really go to someone else? And that's what, I would lay out and give you the option of how you wanted to answer.
Okay. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
So it's my understanding that you'd be able to do all this in the next 15 days, Mr. Jordan?
So your current deadline is, I think, March sixth, if I counted the dates right, because it's business days and we have President's Day for Perfect. So the first thing I would suggest is we ask for an extension, something reasonable. They might say no. And then, we'll do the best we can. I mean, I could turn around a draft of these answers pretty fast. The question for you all really is, for the ones you need to dive into, how much time does that take? And I don't want to volunteer your time because you're all busy, and that's more on your schedule than it is on mine. So first step is asking for an extension. I'm sure they'll give us at least one extension. And if they play hardball, then they're going to get the quality of answers the time you have. And by the way, you can always supplement your answers in the future. So this isn't like, if we don't get this absolutely perfect right now, we're in trouble or something. This is, you have a duty to supplement your answers if more information comes to light or better information.
Okay, I would, Mr. George, do you know, before we put this into a form of a motion, the fee on a limited basis, what you'd be charging per hour?
I will charge whatever you're used to paying or comfortable paying. I don't need this work to pay the light bills. I want to help out and frankly help out the citizens via you. So whatever is reasonable, you tell me and I won't question it.
The conversation that I had with Mr. Hoffman was, when he had actually spoken with Mr. Moser, and Mr. Moser said that anything, depending upon what we would decide, he would have done it at Austin's rate, and Austin Hoffman's rate was $200 an hour.
That's fine.
Okay, any other discussion? Then I would, I'm just gonna lay this out. We would, have a motion, a second, and vote on it to hire Mr. Jordan at a limited basis. And then I'll leave that up to us if we need to also have a motion to put Mr. Dick Moser, I guess without talking to him, how do we know?
Maybe I can call him,
Okay.
early next week.
I'd like to do it today, but,
Okay.
I mean, we don't know if we'll ever we'll probably need him down the line.
Yeah.
It all depends what Mr. Jordan's limited basis is.
I got the number to go off of, I
As
guess.
far as these interrogatories, that's the limited basis for Mr. Jordy. He's gonna help us with the interrogatory.
Right now, yep.
So let's vote on that.
Yep, and then we'll go from that point on. Okay. All right, then I would ask for a motion.
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
move.
Okay, we have a motion from Mike, we have a second from Jeff. Any other discussion? At $200 on a limited basis for hiring Mr. Jordan. I will ask, all in favor? Jeff?
Yes, aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Sid?
Aye.
Neil? Aye. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, now Sid, if you want to,
Call.
call Mr.
Brian, I think,
Okay.
are we done with
Yes,
Brian? Can we?
yes, we are.
Can we talk to Brian for just a little bit?
Sure,
Yes.
absolutely.
Brian, here's what I think you should just go ahead and do what you said, ask for the extension and get your list of questions that we really need to answer, get that compiled for us, and then we can go from there, see if we do get extended. If we don't, I'm gonna have to do a little stuff on the road here, which I really don't wanna do.
Understood. I will ask for that extension today and report back. And so this is streamlined. And again, I want to make sure we're all on the same page, so it's not like I'm just dealing with Sid because I happen to know him. So the best practice for you, do you have a point person? Should I email all of you at the same time, or what's the flow of communication you prefer?
I would have no problem with emailing all of us. Yeah, then we wouldn't be going back and forth between ourselves.
Right, that way we don't have to, one doesn't have to call the other four, and we can supply that with you, with also the questions if you haven't obtained them yet, so.
yeah, if someone can just give me all of your emails, cause I'd like to get working on this today even, so.
As soon as the meeting is over, Lindley can email that to you.
Great.
Okay? And like I said, you can put it in a group form, I mean, we'll just answer yes or no or whatever you need, and, she can also give us probably the cell phones also.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much,
it
Brian.
for all your help.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Talk to you soon.
You bet, thanks.
Okay, discussion, as far as, what you feel we should proceed with Mr. Mosier. You know, I don't know how far Mr. Jordy will take us, you know, depending upon what comes up.
I guess, would it be okay if we wait till Monday morning, I try to call him?
Yeah,
I think so, I mean, we've got Brian,
we've got
We
what
don't
we
need to
need now.
we don't need to utilize Nick just yet, save him for another rainy day.
And we probably have enough, what we have, we till our March meeting,
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
okay.
Okay.
So I'll probably try to contact him then early next week and just have a discussion with him and tell
So
him.
Lindley will send him anything that he needs to take a look at, which I really appreciate. There might be 66 questions, there might be 10 of them that, okay, he'll try it for extension, I'm sure he'll get back to us. And,
Hey, guys,
yep,
I don't think we wanna fool around and wait to talk to this guy.
You mean Moser?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
I think we should get him on board sooner rather than later.
Just explain to him that we hired Brian Jordy and if things don't work out there, if something goes south, that he would be able to pick up the slack or take over for him? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I think.
and I agree with you, Jeff, even though Mr. Jordan may think he's not a conflict of interest, you never know what'll happen, so, you know, I
Yeah,
agree.
that's exactly right.
Okay.
Okay, so if you wanna call him, sir, you certainly can.
Great. Try it out here.
I just wanted to make sure that if we needed to go into executive session, we would have to, but we don't, because I know how it is for everybody to file in. There's no lunch concession stand out here or anything, and I know those are my chickens. They'd be cold, but I could give everybody a tater tot.
Hi, Nick, this is Sid Biker calling from Long Lake, South Dakota, McPherson County. I think you've kind of had a heads up a little bit about possibly representing us in the Summit Carbon Solutions interrogatory questions. We would like to, we're actually in a meeting right now, we would sure like to speak with you about it if possible. We did hire Brian Jordy as our legal counsel, but we would sure like to speak with you and probably have you on notice or be able to work with you also or in place of Brian Jordy if it comes to that. Give us a call back, 605-380-1332. Well, left him a message.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that we need, that I'm not seeing here? I would say if we do have a special meeting that we have to discuss the questions, we could also entertain that, a motion for Mr. Moser too, unless he calls us back while we're still here today.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kinda hoping that we get the extension, that we've got a little more time to.
Yeah,
to-
I would,
at least till after our next meeting, you know, we can figure that stuff out.
Yeah. I,
Next meeting, what is the 4th of March?
Yeah, it's not very far away.
no, it's not. Okay, let's, we can move on to the courthouse maintenance boiler update. Mike, you were here, or,
Yeah, I came too. Bushes got it cleaned up nice. Did you look at that? I haven't. It's dry, all dried out. Looks great. Go ahead.
Well, by the time I got here, some
County guys.
they had her up to the top of the stairs, or putting her out the door, and
so
what-
basically, let's back up and see what happened.
So what it is a chemical pump. That's a pretty big unit.
Okay,
And from what I,
The tank.
yeah, the tank. But they took the whole thing out.
Condensate tank. So
Right.
Steam goes in there and
Yeah.
then it turns
Gets
it back to
treated.
water and it is treated and then is recirculated through the bowl.
So basically, I don't know how old it is, but it's just rotting out.
Older than the boilers, which were in 2003.
Oh, okay.
Is the tag.
It looks like it's dated, but anyhow, it rusted through. And we had a water leak in the
is there
basement.
2 boilers?
Or, yeah, it's true. Anyway, it rusted through and, had to shut the heat down, of course, and, was this Tuesday? I think so. It doesn't really matter, it was cold, but anyway, so Sid Meyer from Eureka, and I know Michael Yost was in on it, but there was 4 guys that come over and they tore it apart, they had to unhook lines and, electrical and everything, and they carried it up to the top of the steps, and I guess they used a skid steer, put it on the pickup, took it over to the county shop, and I went out afterwards, and, Henry Spitzer was welding it up, patching it together, and, basically, they put it back together and got the heat going by about what?
Late afternoon,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah. So we're really lucky we got people that can do that stuff, but they all agreed it's gonna need to be updated.
And boiler 2 has yet to turn on and there's a problem with the chemical. There was a chemical leak after they installed it, so we have a call into the boiler company and he's gonna come out hopefully Monday, Tuesday to figure out what's going on, because boiler 2 won't retain any water, or at least it doesn't appear like it has water in it now and it won't turn on, so.
And you said the
hopefully-
boilers are 2003,
Yes.
so they're 20-some years already.
Is it warming up at home?
Yes, it's about 20 degrees right now, and I'm in a t-shirt, no, just kidding.
We don't have the window open yet, it's okay.
Yeah, so. We definitely, and then we had kind of some issues with the floor drains, Mike, you
side
can.
issue there, yeah. So when Sharon was mopping things up, she was directing it towards a drain right in this same pump area. And initially it was taking the water, but then it stopped and started backing up. And so we shot back that water out to see what was up, and the trap of the drain is plugged. It's been draining through the cleanout cap, which has long been gone, appears to me anyways. And so, at one point, we took this shop vac full of water to a second drain, dumped it in that, and
The old
that-
jail area.
That didn't work either, that's full. And, I tried to open the cleanout cap on that, and that didn't open.
All rotten.
So both of those drains are plugged, and,
We're not so sure, you weren't so sure that the actual gas trap in it
That's-
isn't rotted out.
the trap is collapsed, it's full and it's shot. And so Sharon had a reason to call J&R to look at a toilet on the 3rd floor, I believe it was, and so we were gonna look at the drains, these 2 drains for sure, and maybe look at the 3rd one that's down by the boilers too. Which is working, but just to see what they think of it, but they're probably all the same age, and I don't know, potentially we should have those drains
Hammered out.
hammered out and replaced, because the one where Sharon is, obviously gets used, because there's, some sort of a line that comes from the water softener and
It's like a
discharges.
condensation line or something.
So that's always taking water, and the other one in the jail area, there's a water heater by it and a faucet, so I think by rights it needs to have a drain by it. And,
Then the toilet in the jail area. So is the courthouse basement considered storm shelter? It is, isn't it?
Yes.
So we don't have a working toilet down there?
no, there's two two rooms, two toilets, but they're both disconnected. Toilets are lifted and that's plugged, and the sinks are disconnected, and.
Now, I remember something about the one toilet, we had a water bill that was completely out of control, it's probably 10 years ago, for 2 months in a row, and I think the one toilet that, the one that we probably should get replaced and fixed was just running constantly. And, so it just, I guess I never really followed it up, I never forgot about it, whatever, it just got disconnected, and it's just sitting down there. And I don't think it'll be all that big a deal to make that work again.
No, I don't either.
But if it's a storm shelter for the
Right.
county, we
That's-
probably should have a working,
Toilet and
Toilet
sink.
down
And a sink
yeah,
for water.
yeah.
And then you said you feel two drains.
Two drains
cut
need to be
out.
replaced for sure, So, and I don't know, I just haven't followed up with Sharon to see what she found out from J&R yet.
They did come and they got.
I'm
one
assuming-
of them open, she could tell you more, but they did get one or maybe two, I forget how
They
many.
got one drain open?
Yes.
The one, I bet it's the one in the jail, because the one in the, that it's,
The clean out.
the clean out is still draining out the clean out.
Yeah. Sharon's gonna come up.
I don't know if they're original or not, that may have been put in later, it's old.
Cause if it's original, it'll probably be the Orangeburg tile in there, so they're all collapsed.
Well,
Possibly
so-
under the stool also.
To get the one that Sharon was using, that, the clean out is acting as the drain, we used a snake, and I went through that, and I got it opened up. And as I brought it back out, a chunk of curved
You could tell.
metal came back, so it's
Part of the pipe.
part of the casting there.
Yeah,
Those cats.
that's what it looked like to us, So yeah, there's some issues.
Bill, could this turn into
Naturally.
more than just a
Yeah.
cutout?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Be more,
Yeah.
It could be.
but needs to be done.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we,
Yeah,
Sharon was
kinda-
asking if she needed permission to do that, and I think it's kind of general maintenance stuff,
So,
yeah, so.
She'll come up and
Yeah.
maybe she can, but yeah, it makes me nervous not to have a toilet and a sink down there for.
With the Citizens Building, that
Oh.
has been the primary
Okay.
shelter, but they don't have, their generator hasn't worked for a while.
That's right, yeah.
Should we lose heat then, or power, then this would be
Is it like
heated.
a tornado too?
Yes, and then we'd have to figure out
Did you,
who.
were your ears burning?
Open the building.
It looks really good down there, Sharon, it's all dried up and cleaned up.
Yes,
Did you just call me?
no.
Oh, it's county services just called me,
Uh-oh.
whatever that means.
Did you get a hold of JR?
Yes, they came
Oh.
and they were here that afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. And, the three drains were having issues. They got two of them completely open. The one by that sink is collapsed in there, so that one's gonna have to be dug up to get that open properly. I did cut some screens this morning, put them over the holes so that we don't have all that debris going down the drains anymore when the water does back up. To the boiler, we have boiler number 2 down and, the condensation pump number 2 down. We can't get the water to fill number 2. And, when we reinstalled the tank, the condensation tank, the chemical isn't going in there right. It was leaking on the floor the next morning when I came. So I called about that, and, he's gonna have to come up this next week here and relook at some of that stuff and see what's going on.
How about the toilet that we probably should get put in there? Did you ask him about that at all?
Well, we were just gonna get an estimate on that.
Yep.
Yep, so I haven't heard anything back. Lindley, did you hear anything back yet?
No, they haven't
No.
gotten me an estimate.
All right,
Mike had indicated that could possibly, to save money, could be done internally. I don't know if that's something we want to do or not.
See what the rest of it is.
Okay. Okay.
oh, the guys out the road crew, it's unbelievable what they do.
Yes, they
Well,
did a wonderful
Yeah,
job.
unbelievable.
I wanna thank you two personally.
what you did, and then I will talk to Sue and to the rest
No.
of the crew, and
Yeah.
acknowledge them also.
Yes, they were wonderful, got that heavy tank out, fixed it, brought it back in again,
It's great that we don't have snow removal, that they could do that.
Yes.
That's the way it should be.
yep,
Yeah, and then in the other shop, they had they were putting a heater core, I think, in the Dodge pickup. I didn't go look at it, but if you've ever seen a heater core being put in a Dodge pickup, or any pickup, the dash literally comes completely out of it, and you wonder how. I've asked them, how do you ever get them back together? So we've got guys that do an awful lot of mechanic work, and it is worth more than you can imagine.
Good. I would suggest that, I mean, these are just maintenance things, Sharon, that you just have to, wait for the estimates to come in, and then we will be meeting on the beginning of March.
For
I mean, if it's a necessity and you need to pull the plug, go for it, but I don't think,
well, we did tell JRs that whenever, put us on the list, because that drain has to be opened up.
Sure.
Cause that's my main drain,
Yep.
for the condensation pump,
okay.
so I need.
I'm
we need that
surprised it
one
doesn't
open.
smell more than it does, because we don't have a trap there.
Yeah,
You said sometimes it does, kinda?
sometimes it does, when you come in the back door, you can smell sewer,
So did
depending on the wind,
they got the one by the water heater open?
open, yep, and the one by the boiler.
That's
And they
clean,
found
clean and dry.
nuts and bolts and screws and wires and all kinds of stuff
Money.
down there.
No gold coins.
No,
So everybody's comfortable here though with one boiler going on?
I believe so,
Okay. My fear is what if the other boiler goes?
you know, get
I mean, we have to,
Well, thank goodness we're gonna be
warmer.
a little better.
okay. Is that something that can be fixed? Well, you don't know that. Is it something that we can get by until it's the summer months when we don't have to run them?
We need that condensation pump to pump the chemical into the boilers, so we need that to work.
Sure.
So, yeah, we have to get that
So you
fixed.
make that call. I would say she's just gotta do
I
what she
think
gotta
you
make
already
that
did.
call.
You're-
Yep,
you
yep,
got
he's
it
gonna
covered.
be here next week
Okay.
sometime.
And they come out of Sioux Falls, right?
Yep,
Ouch.
yep.
Do we have anybody, do we have like a building, somebody on the building? I guess you can call me and,
Sid Meyer would be probably the first go-to, cause he's worked at the
Okay.
school
Yep,
over in Eureka.
yep, and he was here, he was very, very helpful.
okay.
Right?
I guess you can give me a call, Sharon, if you need any direction as far as, pull the plug or whatever, or if we need to wait till March meeting,
Okay,
depending upon the dollar amount. All right?
all right,
Anything else you have while you're here?
no,
Okay. Well, we haven't received the phone calls, so
No.
I would say, Jeff, you have anything else for today?
No, I don't, I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'm feeling real good about what we did today. I think we'll be all right.
Okay. Mike, you have anything to add? No. Sid?
No, I'm good.
Neil?
Enjoy your beer.
Okay, all right. Hey, I'm going into California in the next few days, I don't know about that.
Good luck.
Get them converted.
I don't have anything else, but being we are a little ahead of schedule, I have the authority, is there any public comment out here today?
I'd make a comment, but I don't necessarily want it to be part of the meeting. But I was sitting there thinking one night, there's still a state's attorney in the county, right? Mr. Hoffman is on that. So does he still sit in on all your meetings except this one?
Yes. Just because of his conflict of interest of having an easement signed on the Summit Pipeline, he has excused himself.
Their family.
Yeah.
Well, I kinda thought that might be the case, and I sure don't wanna insinuate anything here, but it just crossed my mind. If the man has recused himself from that project, but sits in on perhaps your executive sessions, or whatever decisions you make here, no conflict of interest that way?
No, he will not be in executive session.
No, if, I'm on the Zoom here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know you were on, Austin.
Yeah,
So,
if
okay.
the commission goes into executive session, anything involving Summit, I will not be a part of that executive session.
Yep.
Settles that.
Yep.
opportunity to everybody.
I think you made a very good decision hiring Brian Jordy. He's probably the most, experienced, knowledgeable lawyer right now, on this matter. He's been through hearings, he's been through pipeline things. I think he will be very knowledgeable and helpful to all of you and to help protect us as a county.
And I wanna thank Sid too, I kind of given Sid's got enough to do with the cold and the cattle, but I've kind of, Sid was more familiar with Mr. Jordan than I was, so we talked.
Yeah, so it's been good.
Anybody else?
Could I get you to answer who are you and what's your name? I mean, I'd like to know, I don't
I'm sorry.
know most of you people out here.
That's the procedure that I have asked, I'm sorry, just stand up and say your name, just because Neil is new.
Okay, Kim Hoffman, they live Western County.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I didn't ask.
Yeah, seven
My question
west
is,
and about 3 north.
what is what is?
Colin said.
Neil Wolhoff.
Colin Huffman is my
Okay,
name.
Colin.
This is the first time seeing the new commissioner. Introduce yourself and tell us what you do and where you live, I guess. Sure.
I live in Stickle County. That would be down by the Hillsview area. I'm a semi-retired contractor from Eureka. So, 2002, I moved out to the country. I lived in Eureka prior to that.
And you grew up right out there too, didn't you?
Yeah,
That's
I
where you-
did,
Yeah.
yeah. My folks lived out there since 1959.
All right.
And everybody knows Mike from here. Okay.
He was on a mission the other day, man. He was gonna get that drains figured out.
Hey guys, thanks for stepping up to the plate, appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, you bet.
Okay, anybody else for public comment? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
We
adjourn.
have a motion on the floor from Mike, we have a second.
I'll second it.
Second Sid, all in favor?
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Sid,
Aye. That's right.
Neil, aye, motion carried.
Thanks, Jeff.
You bet, thank you Jeff, thank you everybody for attending.
Yeah, thanks.
Roll call vote to adjourn.